the power of perception. Relationships are complex, aren't they? One moment, you're excited because someone has caught your attention and there seems to be potential. The next, you're left wondering if they feel the same way. It's a dance, a back and forth of emotions and signals that can leave you confused, frustrated, and, let's be honest, vulnerable. Have you ever been in a situation where you're putting in all the effort, texting first, making plans, showing them your best self, only to feel like they're just not as into it as you are? Maybe they reply to your messages, but there's a lack of enthusiasm. Or perhaps they agree to meet up, but don't initiate plans themselves. It's a dynamic that many of us have experienced. You're interested, they're somewhat responsive, but the effort isn't mutual. And what happens then? Naturally, you start trying harder. You give more, hoping they'll notice your worth. You try to stand out to impress them. But here's the catch. This approach almost always backfires. Why? Because the harder you push, the more they pull away. The imbalance grows and the connection feels more and more like a one-sided pursuit. It's human nature to value what we feel we might lose, not what's handed to us without effort. So, how do you change this narrative? How do you shift the balance of power without resorting to games or manipulation? That's where this phrase comes in. A phrase so simple yet profound that it can alter the dynamic and make them see you in a completely new light. Why this phrase works? Let's unpack the psychology behind this. When you're in a situation where the other person isn't fully reciprocating your efforts, it often leaves them feeling in control. They might not even consciously realize it, but they sense that you're more invested, and that knowledge subconsciously gives them the upper hand. The dynamic becomes unbalanced, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because their perception of the relationship shifts. The beauty of this phrase lies in how it disrupts that perception. Instead of continuing to pour your energy into someone who isn't meeting you halfway, you step back, but not in a dramatic or confrontational way. Instead, you deliver a subtle message that flips the script. You're no longer the one trying to prove your worth. You're the one gently suggesting that maybe they aren't right for you. This changes everything. It introduces doubt into their mind. Not doubt about you, but doubt about themselves. The power of suggestion is incredible, and when you imply that they might not be the one, it forces them to reevaluate. Suddenly, the roles are reversed. Instead of taking your interest for granted, they start questioning what they might be missing out on. The game-changing phrase. Now let's get to the heart of it. The phrase is simple but powerful. You know, it's such a shame you're not the one. Think about the weight of those words. It's not accusatory, it's not emotional, it's not even definitive. It's ambiguous enough to leave room for interpretation, but it's also direct enough to make an impact. When you say this phrase, you're planting a seed of curiosity in their mind. You're not begging for their attention or explaining your feelings. You're making a calm, reflective observation that leaves them wondering. What makes this phrase so effective is its subtlety. You're not saying, "I don't like you," or "you're not good enough." Instead, you're suggesting that there's something about the dynamic that isn't quite right for you. This shifts the focus from them rejecting you to them being unsure of where they stand with you. It's a psychological nudge that encourages them to reevaluate their own feelings and actions. How to deliver it? The key to making this phrase work lies in the delivery. Timing, tone, and context are everything. You want to come across as composed and confident, not bitter or dramatic. Here's how to do it effectively. Set the stage. The moment you choose to deliver this phrase is crucial. Ideally, it should be during a casual interaction where the mood is light and pleasant. Perhaps you're on a date, sharing a laugh, or having an engaging conversation. The idea is to create a moment where the phrase feels natural and not out of place. Add a compliment. Before you say the phrase, lead with something positive. For example, you might say, "You're really charming," or "I genuinely enjoy spending time with you." This softens the impact and makes the phrase more intriguing. It's not about tearing them down, it's about leaving them with a lingering question. Deliver the phrase with confidence. Look them in the eye, smile gently, and say, "It's such a shame you're not the one." Pause for a brief moment, then shift the conversation to a different topic. The pause is important. It gives the phrase a moment to sink in without making the situation awkward. change the subject. Once you've delivered the phrase, move on quickly. Taught something unrelated, share a funny story, or excuse yourself for a moment. The goal is to avoid turning this into a discussion about feelings. You're not looking for immediate clarification or validation. You're planting a thought and letting it grow. The psychological effect. Now, let's talk about what happens next. After you deliver this phrase, the other person may not react immediately. They might laugh it off or seem momentarily puzzled. But here's the magic. It's not about their immediate reaction. It's about what happens later when they're alone and replaying the conversation in their mind. That phrase, "You're not the one," will echo in their thoughts. They'll start questioning, why would they think I'm not the one? What did I do or not do to make them feel that way? Have I missed something about them that I should have noticed? This internal dialogue is where the real shift happens. Instead of feeling in control, they begin to feel uncertain. They start to wonder if they've underestimated you, if they've overlooked something special. And that curiosity often leads to action. They may reach out more, make an effort to reconnect, or even try to prove that they are the one. Timing is everything. It's important to understand that this phrase isn't a magic bullet. It won't make someone fall in love with you if they're not interested. What it does is create space for them to reflect and reassess. Timing is key. You should use this phrase when you sense that the connection is one-sided, but there's still potential for something more. If the other person truly isn't invested, this phrase will give you the clarity to move on without regret. A word of caution. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about reclaiming your power in situations where you feel undervalued. The phrase works because it's honest. You're acknowledging that the dynamic isn't meeting your needs, but you're doing so in a way that's composed and self-assured. If the other person doesn't respond positively, it's a sign that they're not the right match for you, and that's okay. The goal isn't to force a connection. It's to create an environment where mutual effort and respect can thrive. Creating the space for reflection. After you deliver the phrase, it's crucial to follow through with action. This doesn't mean going completely silent or ignoring the other person. Instead, take a step back. Stop initiating conversations. Focus on your own life, your hobbies, friends, and personal growth. When they reach out, respond politely, but don't rush to engage. This subtle shift in your behavior reinforces the message of the phrase. It shows that you value yourself and won't settle for less than you deserve. When to use this phrase? You might be wondering, can I use this phrase in every situation? The answer is no. This phrase is most effective when you're dealing with someone who's giving mixed signals, when they show interest but aren't fully committing. If you're in a healthy, balanced relationship, there's no need for this kind of intervention. But if you're feeling undervalued or stuck in a one-sided dynamic, this phrase can be a powerful tool to reset the balance. The phrase, "You're not the one," is deceptively simple, but its impact is profound. It challenges the other person's assumptions and forces them to reflect on the dynamic between you. When delivered with confidence and followed by a graceful step back, it creates a space for curiosity and self-reflection. And in that space, the balance of power shifts. You're no longer chasing their approval. You're standing in your own worth. Remember, this isn't about winning someone over or manipulating their feelings. It's about recognizing your own value and creating a dynamic where mutual effort and respect can flourish. If they respond positively, it's a sign that there's potential for a deeper connection. If not, you've given yourself the clarity to move forward with confidence.